What's going on, everyone? I'm Michael from Trackstack, and today we're going to cover 8 tips when sending your tracks to DJs on Trackstack. When you're sending your tracks to DJs, you want to make sure that you're taking into account these 8 tips that we're about to cover, because these are the things that DJs are looking for when they're reviewing your tracks on Trackstack. Before, when I was sending my tracks to DJs, I would just send in bulk and pray for the best. And obviously, that didn't land me any results. It's when I started taking accountability and started noting these important facts and important notes when it comes to sending DJs that I started to see meaningful relationships be formed and DJs started to support my music. So without further ado, let's jump into it. The first thing to always make sure is make sure your track is labeled correctly. As you can see on my Trackstack, I have uploaded a track and it is called Michael Cared, repeat that, in brackets, final whip, and then V2.2. If you're going to send your tracks off with a name like this is going to be something that DJs look at and will almost every time instantly decline your track. So it's important that when you upload your tracks to your upload section, that you go into the section and you make sure that you have it labeled properly. I would go artist first, the track title, and if you have any labeling of final whip V2.2, I would just get rid of that, and it's plain simple and it's straight forward, ready to go. Now, a beautiful thing is when you upload your tracks to Trackstack, over on the right, it gives you a bunch of information. It will give you the key, it'll give you the beat per minute, and it gives you a bunch of these features as well, like danceability, club ready, energy, vocal presence, loudness, dynamic range, true peak. And this is information you want to take into account when you're sending your tracks to DJs on Trackstack. This now leads into the second point. Make sure your tracks are at a club ready point. If you're sending your tracks off and they have a waveform, like you can see on my screen here, this does not look like it's a track that's ready for the clubs, for the festivals, and ready for DJs to play. You can also see this has a length of 2 minutes and 1 second. That's not enough time for DJs to be playing your tracks. So on this right-hand side on the features, use these features to gather information. A good one is this loudness, dynamic quiet. It's currently at a negative 16.7 LUFS. That's nowhere near the loudness it needs to be for DJs to be playing that at club ready sets. If I go back to one of my records, which I know that I've mastered, we look at the screen here, this is a record here that I've uploaded, and we can see here that the loudness is much more louder than what it was before. And it actually tells you moderately loud. This is a good tool to use for understanding where your loudness sits and knowing if your tracks are at a club ready standard. The third point I'm gonna go over is sending edits to DJs always is going to receive much more attention than originals. Every DJ loves playing edits in their sets. These are the well-known songs that could have a little twist on it and could really, really shape a dance floor and just continue building on that energy. Sending edits to DJs is always going to get you much more response and engagement, and lean into this. I've got this edit here of Madonna's Vogue. I would be sending this record off to DJs. I wouldn't be focused on labels or creators. I'm focusing this record on DJs. The fourth thing to note is you need to make sure that the sound of your track matches the sound of the DJ that you want to send that track to. Now, there's multiple ways that you can do this, but the most easiest way that I do it is if I wanted to send a track to, say, Frankie Rosado, I would type in the search bar, Frankie Rosado. You click on his profile, and in the links section, you actually have his profile linked here. So from there, I would make sure that I go to his profile and I would just check out a couple of his latest posts, check to see what he's actually playing. And that way you get a very clear image and idea of the type of records that he's playing in his sets. And if that matches the tracks that I want to send, that's where I would send it to him. On the back of that point comes number 5. Make sure that you're sending your tracks at the right time. What I mean when I say this is artists and DJs are going to be touring, and their tour schedules 9 times out of 10 are chock-a-block and stacked. So you will need to make sure that you're sending your tracks at the right time to make sure that it doesn't get lost in the noise. Someone like Jamie Jones receives thousands of tracks a week and he has to sort through that, plus managing a busy tour schedule. When you put that in perspective, that's a lot of work he needs to do to try get through all of them. So first thing you do is make sure that their inbox is open, which means that they are open to receiving new tracks. And you can do that by clicking on the send button for one of your tracks. And let's say I want to go type in West End. It will actually come up with this info down here saying this inbox is currently closed. That is a setting that he's already preset. You can't send tracks to him until he opens up his inbox. So I wouldn't be sending tracks to him, of course. Another way you can find out the best time and way to send tracks to a DJ is going to their profile, clicking on their Instagram, and by checking out their profile, you can see here that he's got a bunch of tour posters, so for Ibiza Tuesday nights, so we can see he's playing the 28th of April, the 12th of May, 5th of May, and 19th of May. Use this information to help you send your tracks to the DJs at the right time. Number 6, make sure your tracks are intro and outro friendly. Do not be sending radio edits or any tracks that are shorter than 4, 3, 2 minutes. This is not going to be an appealing thing for DJs. Make sure that you have an extended intro and extended outro. If it's easier for the DJ to mix in, that is all things that they look for and that they want. Number 7, avoid sending 5 tracks at once and spamming them. Most of the time, these DJs have inboxes filled with hundreds and hundreds of tracks that they need to get through. The best recommendation is sending 1 to 2 records at a time. If you're sending at 5 at a time and continuously spamming a DJ, because they have most of the time bigger inboxes to sort through, if you send through more than 2 records, they will not be as engaged and listen to all the other records if the first 2 are not up to the standard, or if the other 2 don't match the previous points that I've just mentioned. So when sending your tracks to DJs, aim for 1 to 2 at a time. And the last one, number 8, is follow the 7 to 14 day rule. As I said in the last point, you want to avoid spamming DJs, and you don't want to be sending a bunch of your tracks to DJs and continuously do that day after day after day. That's not going to get you support, shortlists, or anything. Send a track to a DJ and give it 7 to 14 days. If you haven't heard a response from him, send him another track. That is going to help you build a meaningful relationship with the DJ. It also shows them the consistency that you're putting in to your art and craft. And all of these things are important things that DJs are looking for continuously on trackstack. The most important thing to remember is when you're sending your tracks to DJs is take your time and make sure that these 8 points that I've just covered applied to your tracks. Do the groundwork, do the prep work, make sure your tracks are labeled properly, make sure they are DJ friendly, make sure you're sending them to the correct DJs that have the same sound and at the same time. Use the track features and track info that's available on your uploads. Use all of this information before sending your tracks to the DJs. Once you do this, you can then send it to the DJs and do not spam them. Send it to them, give it time, and then continuously send them more music when ready and it's at the right time. If you'd like to learn more about Flow Inbox, hit subscribe or head to our official website to learn more. Peace.